Let's go to Joel Klatt in his podcast studio, wherever you listen to podcasts, the Joel Klatt Show. So the first name last night that came up, and we both know him and we both like him, is Sark to replace Saban. He's been there before. He understands the intensity. I don't buy it. I think Texas has a better NIL. What did you make of the suggestion Sark to Bama? Did you buy it?
Well, he's the name that you have to call first. So whether he's going to take it or not, that's the name that you have to start with. And it's because he has every single box that they want to check off. He is a very strong recruiter. He's got a long history of being a head coach. And frankly, and people don't want to admit this, he was successful at every place, even through the disaster that was his time at USC. He's got a history at Alabama. And then here's a note that I don't think many people realize about Steve Sarkisian. A few years ago, he was in line and offered a job that he wanted to take. And he went to tell Coach Saban that was his intention. And Coach Saban said, no, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to be the next coach here. Nick Saban, I believe, had every intention to go the Bob Stoops or Urban Meyer route with Alabama and Steve Sarkisian. That had worked so well at Oklahoma and clearly had been working at Ohio State. And he wanted to keep Sark around. Now, it just so happened that Texas opened up. And that's one of those jobs that everybody acknowledges. Yes, go ahead and go do that there.
Yeah.
So now that he's at Texas, he doesn't make a lot of sense to go back to Alabama because he's his own man at Texas.
Yeah.
He has built this in his own image. He's not in the shadow or footsteps of anybody else. This is Sark's program. If you go to Alabama, you will be in Nick Saban's shadow. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
He's the greatest college football coach of all time. So for that reason, even though they have to start with Sark and they like him, and clearly Nick liked him enough that he wanted to promote him from within a couple of years ago, I don't think Sark is wanting that job.
By the way, so I agree with you. Dan Lanning has said no. I didn't think Dan was quite ready for it. He is 0-3 against Kalen DeBoer in the Northwest, and he had better players and a better collective than Kalen DeBoer, who I think's the best coach, but he's not from the South. Your thoughts on that? So as Washington and Oregon now go into the Big Ten, I think Kalen DeBoer is better fit at Washington or eventually a Michigan or Ohio State. But I have been told Kalen DeBoer changed agents to Jimmy Sexton. That's an SEC guy. What is the latest you hear or think about that situation?
Well, I'll tell you what I know and what I think. So let me start with what I think. My belief was that this needed to work very quickly. I was told that this was going to happen within 72 hours, regardless of name, that they wanted to move quickly so that they could solidify the locker room. And the longer this goes and the more no's that you hear from other, let me not get on a tangent. They want to move quickly. So for me, the list was 3 names. You start with Sark. It's immediate. You know him. You can offer him the job. If he says no, which I assume that he has, then you move to Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning has now said no. And then the third name on that list is Kalen DeBoer. And the reason is because the other names that would be prominent on that list, names like a Dabo Sweeney or a Ryan Day or a Lincoln Riley or a Kirby Smart, like they don't make a lot of sense for one reason or another. But Kalen DeBoer does. He's 104-12 as a head coach.
Crazy.
He's excellent. It's wild how successful he has been. And you're exactly right. He did more with a lesser roster than even Lanning did at Oregon. So this guy is a guy that I think has been looking quietly. One of the reasons I think that he has been looking is not anything negative about Washington other than he's not working right now for the person that hired him.
Right.
Jen Cohen was the athletic director that hired him at Washington. She's now the athletic director at USC. And so for Kalen DeBoer, who hires Jimmy Sexton, now he can be really in the middle of all the SEC conversation. And then we get to Sexton, and this is what I do know. Jimmy Sexton is going to control this search, every bit of it, because he controls every chess piece on the board. He represents Steve Sarkisian. He represents Dan Lanning. He represents Kalen DeBoer. He represents Mike Norvell at Florida State, Dabo Sweeney at Clemson, James Franklin at Penn State. So he will try to slow play this as long as Alabama will allow him so that he can get every one of his clients the raise that they feel like they deserve. So he's going to try to play it slow. Alabama's going to try to go quickly. In my estimation, the most logical candidate in terms of the expediency of the way that they want to operate is Kalen DeBoer. I'm actually going to be pretty surprised if Kalen DeBoer is not the next coach at Alabama.
All right, Joel Klatt, very, very good insight, very well connected. And of all the personalities at Fox, he has the coolest home studio. I'm living on peanut brittle and hockey scores up here. This guy's got a studio. Look at him, crushing it. Wherever you get college football podcasts, listen to his. It's the best college football podcast out there. Joel, I appreciate you stopping by for us.
Absolutely, bud. See you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.